into the castle and through the corridors toward the initiate's wing and my bedroom. I wonder at what my parents and Jack saw in this place. It oozes corruption and doesn't seem to do anything it promises to do. When I lock my door and check for bugs, you could never be too careful. I walk to the window, prick my finger, and draw the Nephilim symbol on the glass. It shimmers and disappears, and as I wait to hear from Zoran, I finally take the chip from the night my parents were killed and install it into my e-glass. I drop to my bed, clutching the token of strife in my hand, and watch that night unravel in full color. Over and over I replay the video, seeing them fight, seeing them both killed, seeing the angel come from the sky. It's nearly morning when I look up to see Zoran standing in my room, the window open behind him. I raise an eyebrow at the odd vision of him in my room. "Isn't it a bit risky for you to be here?" He grins and sits at my desk chair.
"I have ways of remaining incognito. What can I do for you, Miss Knight?"
I sit up and take off my e-glass. "It's what I can do for you, actually. Or rather, what we can do for each other. I'll help you discover why the Nephilim lost the war." I can see interest in his eyes and continue. "And then, I'll help you rebuild. Gather the rebels and prepare the cathedral. It will be our base, where we start."
"Start?"
he asks. "A new order," I say. "One that fights for both Zeniths and humans. One that actually keeps its oaths."
"If we are to be an army, we shall need a name, a banner under which to fight."
I prick my finger with the token of strife and use a drop of blood to draw on the floor between us. An infinity symbol with a double cross rising from it. "Not an army," I say, looking up at him. "We shall be of the night, striking from the shadows, but we shall be more than soldiers. We shall be symbols of what is just. We shall be knights of the dark. We shall be the Dark Templars." He traces the symbol with his finger.
"The Leviathan Cross,"
he says. I nod. An ancient Templar symbol that stands for balance in the masculine and feminine. It represents protection. We are that protection. We are that balance. Zoran smiles.
"Will you leave this castle and take residence at the cathedral?"
"No," I say, still cradling the token of strife in my hand. "I'll rise up the ranks, and then I'll destroy them." The next day, I surprise my grandfather with news that I'm ready to commit to the orders. And he surprises me with a road trip.
"There's something I want to show you before you make this commitment."
We walk through Vianney to the underground parking, and a driver pulls up in a shiny black stretch limo. "No e-driver?" I ask, as the driver holds the door open for me. My grandfather slides in after me.
"Call me old-fashioned. I still prefer a human behind the wheel."
The drive itself is the longest time I've ever spent with my grandfather, as we head north into a more remote area of New York, and then east into the farmlands. Along the way, I pepper him with questions of my mother, of what she was like as a child.
"As precocious as I imagine you were."
"And how she met my father."
"They met as initiates at Castle V."
I feel closer to him than I ever did when the car slows down and we pull up to a large villa. It has clearly been abandoned for many years, but it is still beautiful, with ivy twisting up the caramel and cream walls, and a stone path that leads to an open-air center courtyard, dotted with fairy trees and trinity trees.
"This villa is part of your family inheritance,"
he says, handing me an ancient skeleton key.
"It's on 200 acres of land. There are 10 rooms, 12 bathrooms, 2 great rooms, a ballroom, a library, a study, several fireplaces, and a gourmet kitchen with a breakfast nook and dining hall.
I stand with my mouth agape, staring. He hands me a small black velvet box.
This also belongs to you.
I open it and stare at a beautiful silver ring with a rainbow moonstone at its center and stars designed into the band.
That is the House of Night family ring.
He hands me a bank book.
And this is your wealth.
There are too many zeros to count. My head spins. This is all mine?
Yes.
He turns to look at me.
You're a wealthy young lady, Scarlet. Your parents left you everything, and that's not insignificant. Before you take your vows, I wanted you to know you have choices. You are not dependent on me or this school for your survival. You can leave if you must, though I hope you won't. I hope you'll stay.
How did my parents accrue so much wealth? I ask, still shocked. He chuckles as if I'd asked him why the sky is blue.
They both came from ancient patrician families. The knights, who were honored during the Great War, and the foresters, who can trace their lineage back to Juliana herself.
I smile widely, realizing I'm related to one of my childhood heroes. My grandfather continues, stroking his long gray beard.
Their inheritance, combined with their income from the Knights Templar, is, as you have seen, considerable. Today, the databases will be updated. You will be a patrician in name and stature. Your life will have many options.
We walk into the villa, and I marvel at the beauty of this place, considering all he has said. Thank you. It means a lot to me that you showed me this before I committed. I turn to him, my will resolved. But I'm not going anywhere. I belong at Castle V. He smiles.
You know what comes next?
Yes. I've studied the process since I dreamed of becoming a knight. Next come the initiate trials. 3 will compete for a place at the castle. And only 1 will win. Back at the cathedral, I stand with Zorin, Trix, and TR and assess our new space. TR grins. He doesn't look relaxed. He rarely does. But he does look excited.
This will do nicely for a base. The Nephilites built catacombs underground. The tunnels could prove useful.
Zorin gestures to the door at the back.
Let me show you.
He and TR walk off and disappear into the bowels of the cathedral. I begin to follow when Trix stops me with her words. I know you work for the orders. I turn to her, my blood pulsing under my skin. Or that you used to work for them. She amends. That's how you were able to track the Inquisition's movements when you helped me escape. I grip the hilt of my sword and curse at myself for my own folly. I should have been more careful. Now my entire plan could be ruined. Unless I could use my powers to make Trix forget. Make her stop thinking along these lines. Trix steps away from me, her arms in the air in a gesture of peace. Look, as long as you help my team take down the 4 orders, I don't care. I trust you, En. Just tell me we can win this thing. I release my sword, my body relaxing just a fraction. Maybe this can still work. We can, I say. We will. Trix nods. That's all I need to know. She holds out her hand. I take it, sealing our partnership. But she doesn't let go as she continues talking. My people are going to follow you now. So know this. If you ever throw their lives away carelessly, If you ever betray them. Trix's hand begins heating up. More and more. It's almost painful, the heat, the tension of bones rubbing together. Then I'll crush you, she finishes, letting my hand drop. With a grin on her freckled face, the shadow of Rome disappears into the bowels of the cathedral. And I can't help but smile too, for the woman I might someday be friends with. I join my generals below and watch them study the catacombs. "So what's the plan, Anne?" asks Trix. "What do the Dark Templars do first?" I draw my mother's sword and scratch a large A into the stone wall, letting my anger rise. We destroy Apex. Chapter 23. Jen Maud and Manners. The wood is polished and shines in the firelight as Jax melts steel into shapes to complement the warm, earthy hues of his sculpture. The piece is still a work in progress, and I can't make out the final shape, but the emotion is there. The sense of a journey, of something fluid and beautiful unfolding in its own time and space. I run my hand over the wood, marveling at the smooth texture and currents of mahogany and pine bending together in a dance. "What's it for?" I ask when the noise subsides as he cools the steel.
"It's to celebrate the completion of the initiate trials at the end of summer. It's a ceremony of sorts. You'll see."
"What will it be?" Jax looks up, his blue eyes bright.
"It will be whatever people need it to be."
When I return to my room, there's a gold box wrapped in a red bow sitting on my desk. An envelope sticks out of it. I pluck the thick cream parchment from the ribbon and open it, my fingers sliding over the V embossed on the card. It's an invitation to an informal cocktail function. I get the distinct impression the invitation doesn't have a decline option. I'm about to open the box when someone opens my bedroom door instead. An older woman in her 50s or 60s stands there, holding a small leather trunk with a handle. She is tiny, with bones a bird would envy, and silver hair pulled into a tight bun on her head. She curtsies at me and enters the room, closing the door behind her. She is silent, and I realize she's waiting for me to speak first. Because I'm a pet now. Ugh. "Can I help you?" I ask, sweat breaking out on my neck and under my arms. She smiles. "I'm Agatha, your assigned attendant during your stay at Castelviani. I will be helping you dress and prepare for your initiate trials, and, should you become an initiate, I will serve you during your studies here." I know I'm staring at her like a stunned deer, but I can't help it. "Why would I need help dressing myself?" I ask, a bit dumbfounded. Are pets really this helpless? She cocks her head, a quizzical expression on her face. "I understand now. The Chancellor spoke to me about you. It caused quite a scandal in the attendants' quarters. He said you were not raised in your class. He said I'd have my work cut out for me in getting you ready. She pauses, looking uncomfortable. "He gave me license to be firm while preparing you for the social graces." Her eyebrow rises as she scrutinizes me. "I can see he underestimated the amount of work I've undertaken." I blush, then scowl, caught between embarrassed and angry. "I came here to train as a knight, not to learn how to be a rich snob." Her judging stare disappears in laughter that lights up her face. "May I have permission to be blunt, Your Grace?" I pause, not used to such questions. "Yes." "No." She tisks. "You should have said no. But, since I have the Chancellor's permission to be firm, I shall continue." She smiles. "I like you. You're feisty and strong, which is expected. But I hear you have a good heart, which is less expected. You'll be good for this place, but you'll never get a foot in if you don't learn to talk and walk like them. You don't have to become a rich snob, as you say, to become a knight, but But you do have to fit in with the rich snobs. Do you want this badly enough? I look at the box still in my hands and look at her. Yes, I do. She nods. Then let's get started. You have a party to go to. We spend the rest of the day doing the most boring training ever. First, she strips me of all my clothes and insists on a bath, as if I've never bathed in my life. But she adds salts and powders and oils to my bath that make me smell like a bowl of incense. I sniff at my oil-slicked skin as she rubs me dry. This is a bit strong, isn't it? It wears off and leaves you smelling fresh and clean, she says, vigorously rubbing my legs and hair. At my hair, she tisks. Split ends and a cut that is entirely too plebeian. I reach for my hair, self-conscious for the first time in my life. What's wrong with my hair? She taps her e-glass and calls someone called Larry, instructing him to come right away for a code 3. What's a code 3? I ask. Your hair, she says through pursed lips. My hair, indeed. I huff, but allow her to continue her ministrations. At least you haven't plucked, waxed, or shaved your arms and legs, like so many patrician teens these days. A blow for equality, that is. Hair is power. Keep yours intact. I nod, having never given thought to shaving or plucking anything. And no dyeing it faddish colors, she says. Dyeing what? Your hair, arms and legs. Keep it natural. It's classier. New York is buzzing with new looks, but you want to present an aura of conservative class, at least until you establish yourself and can change things up. Okay. She dresses me in the outfit contained in my box, white robes with a cape over one shoulder. Red lines run down the sides of the outfit, reminding me of the Templar crest. When she finishes, I put my ring back on, the one my mother made me. Agatha tisks again, but says nothing. I think she can see in my eyes that I'm not budging on this one. At this party, you'll be meeting the other 2 initiates before the first of your trials begins. It's important you assess your competition and present a strong but not overly arrogant front. I nod. When the door opens again, I look up, surprised. Agatha is painting makeup on my face and smiles at a petite man carrying another small trunk similar to Agatha's. Where hers had makeup and oils and potions for making me smell and look my best, his contains everything he needs to fix my plebeian hair, apparently. He gives a frown at my hair and raises a hand over his eyes dramatically. We do not have much time to save this, do we? He asks the room. The room does not reply, so he rushes over, examining clumps of my long hair as if it's cow dung. He even sniffs at it. Finally, he pulls out a brush, brandishing it like a weapon. I suppose we can make do with this. He nudges Agatha out of the way and kneels in front of me, staring at my face. He has large green eyes, lined with dark liner, and dark hair swept dramatically over his head and held in place with a sparkling clip. His clothing is impeccable and beautiful, beaded and jeweled drapes of ruby fabric. At least you have a face, he says. Do you have a lot of faceless clients? I ask, deadpan. He cracks a smile. Oh, look at you, silver tongue. All right, I'll play. You have a beautiful face. Patrician all the way. How anyone let you pass as plebeian is beyond me. Look at the skin, roughened by the plebe life, but full of potential. And those cheekbones, so perfect they could cut diamond. And that nose. Once you go through your gen mod, you will be undeniably one of the most beautiful creatures to walk the earth. My smile falters. Gen mod? Jax told me all patricians receive one, but he did not tell me when I'd receive mine. Has no one told you? He looks at Agatha. No one has told her? Agatha shrugs. I have only begun to work with her. She's been through so much already. I was instructed to get her ready for the party, but to otherwise ease her in slowly.
Larry sighs. You will undergo Gen Mod before the party, so you will have a few days to recover. It will all be explained soon. First, let's fix this mop on your head.
He moves to stand behind me as Agatha continues working on my face.
By the orders!
He curses, pulling a brush through tangles.
What have you been using on your poor hair? Deer urine?
I choke back a curse of my own. I've been using what everyone uses, I say. The government-issued hair and body cleaner we get with our stipends.
That explains so much,
he says dramatically. It takes him an hour, but when he's done, he looks pleased with himself. I take a mirror nervously from him and examine my new cut. The length is mostly the same, and there's some shaping around my jaw, some layering. Those subtle differences have a huge impact. I went from looking like a plebe to a pat in an hour. My mouth drops open as I stare at myself. I nearly don't recognize myself with this makeup and these clothes and my hair falling in such a way around my face. He claps excitedly.
Lovely! Brilliant! You would make even the angels jealous.
At the talk of angels, I frown, fighting feelings of panic and fear. I take a breath, calming myself, as my two attendants chatter and clean up. Deep breaths. I push the image of my dead parents out of my head. Agatha asks me something, and I look up, a blank look on my face. What? She sighs. We must practice your speech. You look more patrician, and certainly after your Gen Mod you will be perfect. But the moment you open your mouth, the truth will ruin you. And so, for the rest of the afternoon, we go through manners and language. You're a pure man, and you must act and speak like one. Not pure woman? I ask. No. Pure man applies to both genders. The patrician class value their equality. All knights are sirs. All are pure men. There are no distinctions. You treat a woman differently than a man, and you can say goodbye to your chances at being an initiate. When I don't say anything, she continues. All serfs and plebeians must address you as your grace. You must not address others of your class as your grace. If they outrank you, you must use their rank. Your highness applies to both princes and princesses. Your majesty to kings and queens. Why do we still have princes and princesses and kings and queens if gender is equal? She shakes her head. If you ask silly questions a child should know, this will take longer than we have. For a serf, she is quite forceful with me, though I do not see it as odd, since I am still mentally identifying as a plebe. Mostly, I find it annoying. Some titles are ancient and remain unchanged, she continues. There is a difference between the old code and the new. The old code is what the orders followed before the cataclysm. The new code is what they follow now. Got it. I hope that's true. Some may still call you my lady, especially since you are not yet a knight. If they do, they are trying to be gracious, or perhaps flirtatious or overly romantic. Agatha has me sit and slips comfortable shoes on my feet. Now, let's see how you dance. Larry walks over, arms outstretched, and I place a hand in his as Agatha sets her e-glass to play music. I try to follow Larry's lead, but my parents never taught me how to dance. On my third attempt, my pointy shoes dig into Larry's feet, and he steps away, annoyed and in pain.
You are terrible at this, Your Grace. I've seen more grace in a rutting pig.
Thanks, I say dryly. He looks hopeless.
Is there anything you can do?
I grin. I can hack anything on the planet. He rolls his eyes.
Unless your hacking skills make you a better dancer. That doesn't help us.
So we keep dancing, and I keep bruising his toes, and he keeps cursing, and Agatha spends equal amounts of time laughing and shuddering. When we break for dinner, I drown my sorrows in life force and ask the question that's been burning a hole in my mind all day. "Tell me about Jen Maud," I say. And they do. That night, when I can sleep, my dreams are filled with nightmares. My Jen Maud begins today, and I feel a sick dread in the pit of my stomach that manifests as bile in my throat. This response is an underreaction, I will soon learn. A hospitaller hands me a hospital gown and sweeps a curtain closed under the guise of privacy. My hands shake as I peel off my new clothes and drop them in a pile on the floor. I look down at my body, now naked, and wonder what will be different when this is over. Plebeians never spoke of Jen Maud, except in hushed voices behind cupped hands. I knew near nothing about it until last night, and now I feel I know too much. I'm lying in the bed, using thin sheets to cover my nakedness, when the hospitaller returns. Her name is Meg, and she looks too young to be in charge of me. I want to protest, to ask where Grandmaster Marion is. But Meg is talking, explaining things to me, and so I shut my mouth and listen. "Though genetic modification is not painful, the recovery is," she says, as if telling me the butter on my bread might not melt properly. "You will undergo a level 1 andronics mod. We will inject your muscles with serums that stimulate growth and strength. Your bones will be infused with a solution to make them denser. Your skin, eyes, nails, and hair will be rejuvenated. It will take time to recover. We will give you something for the pain, but we can only give so much." She clicks her e-glass to review my file and shakes her head. "Normally, we'd advise at least a month of recovery, but your file says you must be ready within a week." I gulp. A week doesn't sound long enough, but that's when I must attend the party. I am already behind, and I have only just arrived. It doesn't bode well. She sticks needles in my arms and places sticky pads on my chest and back. They are hooked up to a monitor that beeps and purrs and shows lines and numbers I do not understand. When she fills my IV with a purple fluid, I feel it instantly. My head wobbles and my mind slows. Meg smiles. "Grandmaster Marion will be here shortly to begin the procedure. You're in good hands." I'm glad Meg will have help. She's too young. They are all too young. My mind is floating when Jax moves aside the curtain and sits on the side of my bed.
"I snuck in. Don't tell."
I shake my head, but it doesn't feel like it moves. "I won't," I say, slurring. He laughs.
"I know this is hard, but after, you'll be able to see in color."
I pretend to look excited. "Great!" Then, I realize I won't have to hide my color vision anymore, and smile. "I can't wait to see the color of your eyes," I say, my mind drifting.
"Good luck," he says. "I'll be just outside, waiting. I'll come in as soon as they let me. Earlier if I can manage."
He kisses my forehead and ducks out when Grandmaster Marion shoos him away. "You know better, Jackson Lux," she says after him. She looks at me, a soft expression on her face. "Ready?" I try to say no, but nothing comes out. As she wheels me through the clinic, my mind soars higher, losing focus. The last thing I remember is looking at the lights above me as I'm pushed through the halls. I remember telling them not to take my scar away, the one on my hand. I have to keep my apex scar, to remember, to never forget. Pain. So much bloody pain. It doesn't hit me all at once. Instead, it curls around me like a lover and then squeezes like a snake. I'm breathless from it. I feel it reaching out, extending past my physical body, as if the air around me is also hurting. Voices filter past the pain, faintly at first, but then with more power. "Unbelievable, really," says a voice. Meg. I think it's Meg. "Grandmaster Marion, have you seen her readings? She's healing at an alarming rate." It's because I'm Nephilim. Did I say that out loud? By the orders, I hope not. No one arrests me, so I assume it's all in my head. My pounding, aching, awful head. Another voice chuckles, deep and soft. "Good blood," he says as a compliment to me and himself. My grandfather. I wonder why no one is saying anything to me, but I realize I must appear asleep. And then I realize I'm not supposed to be awake. The procedure is still in process. I can feel the serums being pumped into me. Deep needles in my muscles, in my bone, in all parts of my body. A cool hand lands on my forehead. "She's coming out of anesthesia," she says. There is a hushed hurry as something is injected into me, and I fade back into blissful darkness. The next time I wake, Jax rests his head by my side, his body slumped over my hospital bed. I'm only awake for a moment, but I hear him breathing and it calms me, sending the pain into another place as I fade back to sleep. He is still there later, when my eyelids peel open painfully, slowly, and only a fraction. He is crying, holding my hand.
"I'm sorry, Star. I'm sorry for what you're going through. For everything you've gone through."
His voice drops to a whisper and I can no longer hear his words. But I feel his love, his concern, and that is enough. It is 3 days that should have been a month. That feels like a year. I sleep on and off through the first few days, and Jax never leaves my side. I worry that my Nephilim blood will be revealed, but though they marvel at my healing abilities, they do not seem to suspect anything abnormal. By the 3rd day, I am sitting up vertically, which I feel is a huge accomplishment. I'm still in pain, but I distract myself with plans and plots, and Jax tries to distract me with stories to make me laugh. Eventually, Agatha joins my entourage of caretakers. She lays a hand on me in comfort when my bones ache so badly they feel as if they will break. When I've recovered from the pain, she tisks me again. "You should not have let me touch you, Your Grace." What? My brain is foggy, catching up to itself after the influx of pain meds from my self-administered IV. "I touched you. I, a serf, laid a hand without permission on a patrician. That is not proper and should not have been allowed. A plebeian or serf may not speak to a patrician without first being spoken to. They should be beaten as a consequence, and they may not touch a patrician without permission. If they do, the offending hand must be removed." My eyes widen. "That's absurd. Besides, you're my attendant. Of course you have to touch me. If you ask each and every time, this will get tedious, fast." "In private, you may give me permission until revoked, but in public, you must give permission each time." I sigh. "To keep up the appearance of power." She nods. "Exactly." "What happens if I don't want to cut off your hand for daring to touch my person?" The sarcasm drips from my tongue, but she ignores it. "You may report me to an inquisitor, or have a serf perform the deed." She's being deliberately obtuse, I can tell. "You know what I mean. If I don't want someone's hand cut off at all." "Your Grace, you are going to be trouble for me, aren't you? If you don't do it, the other families will look down on you. You will be judged and seen as lesser. Technically, though, no punishment against you would be legal." I breathe more deeply. Good, Because I'm not going to punish you or anyone else for touching me. She bows her head. You may do as you like, Your Grace. I'm done being a patient. For the first time since all this started, I find my patrician status useful, and I take advantage of it. I insist that Agatha prepare a bath for me, and then I insist more forcefully that she leave me to clean myself alone. She tisks and scowls and frowns, and I think she even cracks a sardonic smile when I use my rank to chase her from my hospital room. I breathe a long sigh as I sink into the tub, letting the heat of the water lessen my pain. I haven't felt properly clean since my gen mod. Sponge baths just don't cut it. So I take my time and lather rich, fragrant soap over my body, rubbing off all the antiseptic smells. Once my hair is dry and brushed, I feel much more like myself. Ironic, considering how much less human I really am. I'm finally ready to look at myself. I haven't let anyone show me a mirror since the gen mod procedure. I wanted to be clean, to feel more like myself, before I saw how unlike myself I appear. I pull the sheet off the full-length washroom mirror and take a long look, turning from side to side to see myself from all angles. I haven't dressed yet. I wanted to see all the changes on my body. The differences are subtle, but striking. My skin is flawless porcelain. My muscles are more toned, smooth and strong. My hair is lush, thick, more voluminous than it's ever been. And my eyes are brighter, the blue silver of them shining against my pale skin. Even my face seems more refined, cut from diamond and dipped in cream. I look otherworldly. I look down at my hand and rub a finger over my apex scar. It's now my only physical flaw. I am nearly dressed when Meg comes in to scold me for being out of bed. You need more rest, she says. 3 days is not sufficient. Give yourself at least 2 more. She frowns, her eyebrows furrowing. I don't have that kind of time, I say. Initiate trials will start soon. I have to prepare. I'm not actually leaving to prepare, but it's a good enough excuse. She reluctantly pulls out her tablet and clicks a few things, then passes it to me to press my thumb onto, signing myself out against her preference. I thank her for her care and am about to make it out of there when Jax comes by to check on me. He's holding a bag and his eyes go wide when he sees me. What are you doing out of bed, Star? I sigh and explain everything again. I expect a fight, but he just nods. You're right. There's much you need to learn. I can help you later today if you want. I want, but I won't be here later today. I'll message you. I'm not sure what all my trainers have planned for me. It's a soft lie, but it sticks in my throat nonetheless. How did this boy lie to me for so long? Did he feel like this each time? I let the thought go as he gently hugs me and kisses my cheek. Don't push yourself too hard. It will take some time for your body to get used to the changes. I nod and walk with him to the end of the hall. Before we part ways, he stops me. I have a gift for you, he says, handing me the bag. I look inside and my heart clenches. I pull out the old wooden box. It's the gift Ella gave me for my 10th birthday, I say softly. He nods. I know the gen mod was hard, but I thought, well, you finally have the ability to see in color as you've always wanted. He doesn't know that's been true since the night my parents were killed, and it's a relief to no longer have to lie to him. I can, I say. It's extraordinary. The world is full of more colors than I imagined. I open the box and run a gentle finger over the precious items inside. A blue rock, a red one, and a sprig of yellow moss. She worked so hard on this. My eyes are full of tears when I look up. It's not right. What happened to her? To them. Jax puts his arms around me, and I lay my head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat.
No, it's not.
I pull away after a moment and wipe a tear, and Jax cocks his head.
Is red still your favorite color?
I laugh through the tears. Yes, it's amazing. So much more vibrant than I could have imagined. I tap my e-glass. Evie still has to match the names and colors for me, but I'm learning. I place a hand on his face. I love your eyes. Blue is probably my second favorite. Maybe my first, depending on my mood. He places his hand over mine.
I'm so glad at least one good thing came from all this, Star.
I nod. Thank you, Jax. I hold up the box. This means a lot to me. We part, and I walk quickly out of the castle, pressing my e-glass as I do. Evie, message Zoran. Tell him I'm on my way to the cathedral. Flying frees me. It sets my body right in ways nothing else can. I thought it would hurt, that my new muscles, bones, and ligaments would rebel at the weightlessness of it all. But instead, I feel an absence of pain for the first time since the Gen Mod started. I wish I could live in the air, and it's with great reluctance that I land lightly in front of the cathedral. It's been 5 days since I've been here, and I've done my best to keep in touch. But it's hard having top-secret and highly illegal rebel conversations while under 24/7 care at Castle V. The village is different now. It's cleaner. More repairs have been made to the outlying stone wall, and the cathedral itself shines more brightly under the late summer sun. Zoran waits for me inside. He has a look of wonder on his face as his eyes scan my body.
You look different.
I raise an eyebrow, enjoying his response. How? He thinks for a moment, his eyes burying into mine.
You look untouched by this world, as if you are a creature of the heavens, and by some cruel fate you have been shackled here on earth.
I grin. He clears his throat, breaking his gaze.
Are you in pain?
I'm fine, Zoran, I tell him, smiling. Sore, but fine.
Not everyone survives Gen Mods,
he says, frowning. I survived the Nephilim transformation. He nods.
True enough. Still, you should be resting.
I roll my eyes. Not you two. You, of all people, should know why I can't. Our plans depend on me getting into the orders. I don't have long to prepare for the trials, and I need your help. He nods again. And then he walks over and pulls me into a hug. He's so tall his chin can rest easily on my head as he whispers,
I am happy to know you are healing well. You were missed.
It's not an I missed you, but it's close enough. I squeeze him a little tighter, and then we pull apart. Let's train, I say. We go underground, to one of the cathedral's spacious halls we've prepared with weapons. I pull my sword, and his appears from smoke into his waiting hand. I need to learn that trick, I say. He grins.
Prepare yourself, Nightfall.
I lunge, and he blocks. We parry. I move through the way of Nyx, and he counters with the way of Hecate. I'm winded too fast. My body's sore, tired. He's so strong. I slump against a wall and rub a forming bruise where I missed a block. I thought I'd be at least as strong as you now. Nephilim and Gen Mod. That should make me undefeatable, shouldn't it? He laughs.
That's not how it works.
He tosses me a life force and drains one himself. Why not? I open my drink and sip it, letting the sweet nectar coat my throat.
Your Nephilim transformation isn't instant, he says. It takes years. You will build strength over time. And Nephilim, like humans, have different talents. I'm strong, a warrior. You are
Not, I say derisively. He grins.
Not so much, no. But you are fast. You have kept up with me in flight, when very few do.
I beam with pride.
You will grow stronger in time, with patience, training, and age. Gen mods are a quicker path, but even with both, you will have limitations.
I just assumed all Nephilim were super strong, I say. That's what we were taught anyways. Nephilim fly, drink blood, and it's so easy to turn a human. My mind wanders to a question I've had for a long time. Zoran, how could our kind almost become extinct when you can make many more as needed? He holds up his sword.
Let us move through our forms and I will explain. Can you listen and fight at the same time?
Probably not with him, but I'll give it my best. I meet his sword and we dance.
The transformation is not simple,
he says, blocking my lunge.
Not all survive, and those who do, they are still the same person they once were. It does not change their core. You were still Scarlet after your change, were you not?
I nod. Despite the many changes, I'm still me. Still making choices based on my own value system and thoughts.
There was one among us, Snatcher they called him, for he would snatch children from their homes and turn them. He would crawl into people's beds and turn them. He wore a black cloak and carried a gray bag over his shoulder. Wherever he went, he snatched what people were and gave them new life.
Zoran knocks my sword out of my hand and I fall back, panting. He grins.
Keep up!
I pick up my blade, stretch my shoulders, and move with him as he continues.
He thought they would all join him at his castle, that they would be his army during the war. Many never came. They went to the orders, talking of a grave mistake. They were not Nephilim. They were men. They were killed on the spot by the Inquisition.
I shiver, and my sword slips. He lands a blow against my chest, and I groan.
Many took their own lives. Some begged their loved ones for an end. Only a few joined Snatcher at his castle. They came when they saw how cruelly the Nephilim were treated. They hated their very existence, but feared death more.
I tried to imagine what it would be like to go through this change without understanding, without knowing, without the necessity of being saved from death as I was. And I tremble.
They let Snatcher teach them what they needed to live,
Zoran says, knocking my sword out of my hand again. We stop for a moment, and I sink to the ground to drink another life force. Zoran pulls out a bag of marshmallows, and, when he sees the look on my face, laughs and tosses me one. I shove it into my mouth and lean against the stone wall, listening.
And after, when they had learned all he had to teach, they splayed him out on a table, and, in turns, they drained him of his blood.
Ouch!
They pulled out his eyes and hanged them over the table. They said it was so Snatcher could see his life snatched away, just as he had done to them.
I stare at Zoran, horrified. He looks at me, his face unreadable, as he pulls another marshmallow out of the bag.
They say his eyes still hang in the castle to this day.
That seems unlikely given the rate of decay, but still. Ew! And for all I know, Nephilim eyes don't decay. What happened to those who killed him? I ask.
They never made more. They fought to live, and, in the end, they too died.
Zoran stands and holds out his hand for his sword to appear.
That is why it is no easy thing to make new Nephilim. That is why we are the last.
Chapter 24. Trial of Strength. My time with Zoran is too short. Before I am ready for the trials, I am called back to Castle V to prepare for a challenge more dangerous than battle. A party. With patricians. Who will be judging me? I'm a basket of nerves as Agatha helps me dress. The outfit confuses me at first. Is this a dress or pants or what? She chuckles and holds up leggings. These go on your legs. I roll my eyes and pull them on. She then hands me a fitted tunic that curves around my body like it was made for me. I realize it probably was. The castle probably has my measurements on file somewhere. Weird. Then she clips a half skirt around my waist and it flows to my ankles, leaving a slit open for walking. It's asymmetrical and has a bold cut that exposes part of my left leg. Finally, she holds up a midnight blue cape, draping it around my shoulders and pinning it with a black brooch glistening with diamond stars at its center. "Where did you get that?" I ask. "Your grandfather," she says. She hands me slightly heeled black leather shoes that I slip on. They're more comfortable than I dared hope. My hair is already done up in an elaborate twist with silver blonde tendrils curling down my neck, and my makeup is subtle, but shimmering, making me look more sophisticated than I am. Once I'm ready, Agatha looks me up and down and nods in approval. "You look beautiful, and very patrician." I scowl at her, and she laughs. I'm about to leave when she shows me a small dagger sheathed in leather. "For you." She straps the dagger around my right upper thigh. It's hidden by the skirt, but she shows me another slit in the fabric where I can reach the dagger easily. "Your grandfather felt this might come in handy," she says, winking at me. Why do I need a dagger at a party? I don't even want to know, but having it on me makes me feel better. "Good luck, Miss Knight," Agatha says as I leave. "Thank you." I hold her eyes, willing her to understand that I'm thanking her for more than just helping me get dressed tonight. She nods, and I smile and walk out. Jax meets me in the hall. He looks dashing in black and silver, his blue eyes bright, accented with dark eyeliner. This is the first time I've seen him wear makeup. He grins when he sees me. "You look stunning." "You don't look too bad yourself," I say, taking his proffered arm. He escorts me to the roof of one of the smaller outlying buildings of the castle. It's a cool, clear night, the stars out in full force. I can hear the music playing and people talking before we reach the door. I attempted to use the long walk up the stairs to compose myself. It didn't work. I'm a bundle of raw nerves as we walk onto the roof. The space has been transformed into a wonderland. It is paved with white stones glistening with tiny shards of opaque crystal. In the center is a giant fountain of a griffin spitting water into a pond. Smaller fountains dot the edges, creating a cacophony of sounds in the open air. Several tables are lined with elaborate displays of food, from meats and cheeses to fruits and sumptuous desserts. A chocolate fountain fills one entire table, surrounded by strawberries and sliced apples. All eyes turn to us. Jack steps aside as the doorman clears his throat to introduce me. I was warned this would happen, but I still feel like I'm caught.
"Introducing Lady Scarlet of the House of Night, Initiate Prospect for the Four Orders, daughter of Lord Marcus of the House of Night and Lady Violet of the House of Forrester, granddaughter to the esteemed Templar Grand Master, Chancellor Forrester." There is a polite applause as I bow appropriately to my class and rank. Jax takes my arm again, escorting me through the room as people stare and talk about us. A woman with a pinched face and yellow cape that does nothing for her coloring glares at me, then loudly says,
"I heard she was raised by plebes. She knows nothing of our world. She probably eats with her hands and goes weeks without bathing."
I can feel the blood rising to my face as her date chuckles at her pathetic attempt at wit. I'm about to storm over there and give her a piece of my mind when Jax lays a tempering hand on my wrist.
"She's not worth it,"
he whispers. There's an urgency to his voice, and I realize something I hadn't before. This is part of my test. This whole thing, everything I do while I'm here, will be weighed and measured in determining if I'm worthy of becoming an initiate. And despite Agatha's instruction, I still feel ill-equipped at knowing how to behave as a Pat. The awful woman is right about something. I know nothing of this world. I nod to Jax, and we walk through the crowds of people over to a table with a red fountain surrounded by wine glasses. A dark-skinned man sits next to the table alone, his feet propped up as he sips at his wine. His features are aristocratic: high cheekbones, straight nose, strong jawline. He's a handsome man, maybe 5 to 10 years older than me, with a composure and grace that makes it clear he is comfortable in this setting.
"Scarlet," Jax says, "I'd like to introduce you to Falcon of the House of Rain. Falcon, this is Scarlet of the House of Night. You are both initiate prospects."
Jax nods, squeezes my hand, leans in to whisper, "Good luck," and walks away, leaving me standing alone with my competition. I take a deep breath and smile. "It's a pleasure meeting you." He grins and sits up straighter, letting his feet fall to the ground. He gestures at the empty seat at his small table, and I join him.
"The pleasure is all mine,"
he says. Around us, people slyly watch out of the corners of their eyes, listening to each word we speak. My Nephilim hearing can pick up their whispered mutterings, wondering which of us would make a better knight. Falcon clicks his e-glass, a small frown appearing.
"Tell me, pure man, from where do you hail? I can see you were raised plebeian, but the specifics are unavailable."
The information must be classified. "I hail from home," I say, not wishing to divulge more than I must.
"Don't we all?"
he says, his smile a sharp line across his face. I tap my e-glass and Evie displays the information I need to know. He's from Cairo, the son of a lord, but he's no heir. I'm scrolling through his history when he hands me a glass of wine.
"To dull the nerves and make this tedium a bit more pleasant,"
he says, holding his own glass up to toast. I raise my glass and it clinks against his. He sips, watching, waiting for me to do the same. I take a drink and set it down as the sweet liquid travels down my throat and into my body.
"If you will, pure man, indulge me with another question. How is it that I have heard much of your parents, and so little of you?"
I was raised in seclusion, trained from birth in the arts of war and chivalry, I say. I take another drink. The wine is making me bold, but it's my own fear that turns me into a liar. War and chivalry, indeed. He raises an eyebrow.
"Well, then, wish me luck, pure man. For I was raised in a library. Books and pens were my friends. A surf scholar was my teacher. You see, I too lost my parents. Perhaps..."
He pauses, growing solemn.
"Perhaps they would have trained me better."
I feel small in my silly lies, in my vain desires to impress someone I've only just met. He looks up and smiles again, then leans back, relaxes.
"Excuse my curiosity, pure man. I am not at ease with people I do not know, but it is my failing, and not theirs. Please accept my apology."
My instinct as old Scarlet is to comfort him, make him feel better about himself and his life, relate to him and share his discomfort. But Agatha has made it clear that is not how a patrician in these circumstances would act. So I shrug, pretending to pay him half attention as I scan the crowd. I suppose one raised amongst books instead of parents must be permitted some oddity. I accept his apology, but demean his upbringing. Mix compliment and insult together. It is the way of patricians. I hate it. He smiles at me again, but there's no warmth to it this time.
Have you met the other prospect?
He asks, clearly done with our conversation. I don't blame him. I had to meet you first, pure man, I say, standing. It was a pleasure. I turn, ready to leave, but then spin to face him again, the cold patrician version of myself gone for a moment, replaced by the real me. My face softens and I hold out my hand. Good luck, I say with sincerity as he shakes it. We lock eyes, bonded by whatever is to come. Our hands clasp a fraction too long for polite society. Then he pulls away, his eyes averted from mine as if in guilt. But the trial of strength has not yet started, so I can't fathom what he might have to feel guilty for. Jax arrives then, arm ready to escort me to the next prospect. There are 3 of us, and only one will be chosen. We approach a young woman by the balcony. Her back is to me as she sips wine and chats with the large crowd she's drawn. She wears black, with red lining on the inside of her cape and collar. Her black hair is pulled up in a stylish twist. I hear her voice as she tells a story, and it tugs at something inside me, but I can't place it until she turns to face me. I freeze. My heart stops. I know her. I know the other initiate prospect. We are both frozen for a moment, staring at each other. How is this possible? Where has she been all these years? My heart is clogged full of emotions, and I'm trying to breathe and not do or say something that will ruin me. She regains her composure first, smiling gracefully as she takes my hand and presents me to her group. Everyone, may I introduce Scarlet of the House of Night, the 3rd initiate prospect, and my dearest friend. She holds up her wine glass. I realize I left mine at the table with Falcon, so Jax hands me his and I raise it. The crowd of people smile, nodding, delighted by the twist of us being friends. Brooke turns to me. Shall we walk together, old friend? Her speech is perfect. She does not sound like the Brooke of old, but I see her younger self in her sparkling eyes, in her short-cropped hair and sharp chin. I turn with her, and we walk down away from the gawking crowd and toward a private garden area. Here, dark bushes are trimmed into the form of swans, and a fountain spurts water between them, lit with purple light. The air smells of lavender and mint, tingling my nose. Once we are no longer in public view, I pull Brooke into a hard hug, holding her close. She returns the embrace and tears fill my eyes. We are both in tears as we pull away gently from each other. Brooke chuckles. Pure man, you ruin me. I'm crying like this is a plebe affair. Then let's pretend it is, I say. I need to hold my sister a moment longer. We finish our hug. The moment is perfect, and I am afraid to break it, but there is something I must ask. Something I'm scared to ask. Is Ella here? Brooke sits on a stone bench, her eyes dark. She shakes her head, and then she tells me what happened. After I was taken, I woke up in a dark and dank place, chained to a metal wall. The man who took Ella and me was Apex, the leader of those who take zeniths. He starved us first. After 3 days, he fed us, but only when we did as he pleased. It took months before he rewarded us with fresh air, before I figured out we were on a ship. In that time, he assessed our taints. Ella was a dud, so she would serve those who needed serving and please men who needed pleasing. I was a grabber. They threw me in the fighting pits. My stomach clenches and I feel sick. I sit by her, holding her hand as she finishes her story, her eyes far away, lost in the distance of her past. Every day Pats bet on whether I would live or not. Every day my opponent was stronger than the last. Every day I won. She looks at me a moment, the pain of her journey raw on her beautiful face. They kept us in a glass cylinder for the fights. The glass was always smooth and perfect, more so when it was slick with blood. Many tried to break it. None left a crack. She sucks in her breath, her eyes drifting again. But they were not like me. She sips at her wine and continues. I knew, one day, I would be strong enough. And one day I was. I shattered the glass and fled. I searched for Ella, but I did not find her. A man I threatened told me she had died long ago. Someone had shot her up with more drugs than she could take. I did not wish to hear his words, but in my heart I had known for a while. I left the ship before Apex could find me. I did not see him again. I think she's done, but her hand squeezes mine and she looks at me, her face cold, hard, determined. But one day I will, and then we two shall bet on who will live and who will die. I'm so sorry, Brooke. I can't imagine what you went through. And Ella, poor sweet Ella. I had thought them dead long ago. I didn't imagine either could have survived what I knew would surely be their fate. That Brooke made it out is a miracle, but still my heart grieves for Ella. I think back to my birthday so long ago, when Ella tried to help me understand what color felt like. She had such a gentle soul. Brooke pats my hand. It is what it is. Let us not dwell on sadness. Tell me about you, about your family. My heart contracts. I'm afraid we are both full of sad news this day. My parents were killed recently. It's how I came to be here. Brooke hugs me then. We will bear our pain and we will not let it stop us. I hope we can at least be happy for having found each other at long last. We both cry, laugh, and pull away, wiping our eyes to fix our makeup. A thought occurs to me, and I tilt my head. How long has Jax known you were alive? Around a year, she says. But he couldn't tell you, and neither could I. We are forbidden to divulge unnecessary information to patricians in hiding. When he informed me you had arrived at the castle, I couldn't wait to see you, but I was away, and I asked Jax to keep the secret a while longer. I wished to tell you in person. Were your parents patricians as well? That seems unlikely, but I don't even know what's true or not anymore. I try not to let Jax's further deceptions hurt my heart. I fail. She shakes her head. When I got out, around 2 years ago, I had nothing. I tried to look for work, but I was a plebe zen with no education. So, I started fighting again. People placed their bets, and I kept winning. I started doing matches at patrician affairs. One of them was kind to me. She offered me food and a place to stay. She was, I discovered, the Queen of York. She was seeking a tutor for her younger children, to better train them in combat, and she had found me. I trained her family for a year, and we grew closer. Then, when I thought my services would be over, she offered to adopt me. She offered to make me a patrician, and I accepted. The House of York is a royal family. That means... In the courtyard, I should have bowed. I should have addressed you as Your Highness. My face turns red. She outranks me, despite my high family name. Yes, you should have, says Brooke with a teasing grin. But I think Pats need a shock now and again. Have you seen your mother? I ask. Brooke looks down. frowning. I can't. Not yet. What do I tell her? That I let my sister die? That I chose a different family than hers so I could take care of myself? I can't face her yet. I'm about to tell her I think her mother would understand, that she wouldn't blame Brooke for Ella's fate. They were both children, so young. But the garden around us fills with mist, and my grandfather's voice fills the air around us.
Welcome to the trial of strength, initiate prospects. A serf will present you each with a bow and arrows as the party clears out.
As if on command, a teen boy scrambles up and hands both Brooke and me a bow and sheath of arrows, then scrambles away. I stare at the bow in my hand as my grandfather continues speaking.
The rules are simple. Hit your opponents with an arrow before you are hit. Anyone hit with an arrow is eliminated. The last one standing wins. And, finally, try not to die.
Death is a possibility? Seriously? My heart is thumping in my chest, and I'm still trying to figure out what to do when I look up and see Falcon facing me, with an arrow cocked and pointed straight at my chest. I run. The arrow whizzes by my ear, missing me by a hair. I have to get my head in this game, which is not easy after a bumpy trip through the lands of sad memories. I'm stuck at a dead end, on the edge of the small garden on the roof. I look down at the forest and park area below. It's my only chance. Using my Gen Mod and Nephilim advantages, I launch myself over the side of the building and land in a tumble near brush and bushes, throwing myself into their cover. A wave of nausea sweeps through me. Not from the fall, surely. It wasn't that far, and I've taken more serious tumbles while training with Zorin. I take a deep breath, letting the sick feeling pass. I hear rustling in the forest around me. Animals? Brooke or Falcon? I move slowly, with light feet, like hunting and tracking wild animals the way Mirden and my dad taught me. I can't shake the sick feeling, though. It's getting worse. With each step my legs feel heavier, like trunks of trees sending their roots into the earth, slowing me until I can barely move. My clothing is damp from sweat, and the scent of it triggers my memory. I hold up my arm and inhale more deeply. It's a sickly sweet smell, like rotting fruit. I know that scent. My mind tumbles back in time to forbidden lessons with Mirden. Lessons on poison. This is Red Fairy. My stomach roils, and I turn my head to a bush and vomit out red wine and stomach bile. The wine! That's why Falcon looked so guilty. He poisoned me. I wish this surprised me more, but I'm finding the Patrician Society is full of double-crossing, power-seeking players with agendas of their own. I hear the noise again, and I wipe my mouth on the sleeve of my beautiful tunic and move back cautiously. A giant beast lunges from the brush and pins me down. I scream as its teeth drip saliva down my neck. It's a giant wolf, like the ones I saw pulling the carriages in New York. Only this one looks hungry. And I'm dinner. My mind spins for a moment, the poison in my body making it hard to think. The beast's claws dig into my shoulders, and pain rips through me with each tear of my skin. I realize I'm going to die if I can't get away. And then I remember the dagger Agatha slipped me on behalf of my grandfather. Did he know this was part of the trial? Why would they send something to kill us? I fumble for the dagger at my thigh, pulling it out as I summon my Nephilim power. My wings won't help right now, but my strength will. I focus, and the poison in my system ebbs away. The black creature pinning me looks almost surprised that I fight back, that I am able to push his 300-pound body off me even as I slip the dagger into his side. It's not a mortal wound, but it stuns him long enough for me to escape. I stand, head clearing long enough to run with everything in me. I hear the wolf howling in pain and anger, but I lose myself in the forest, hiding behind trees and boulders, hoping the scent of my blood doesn't attract the creature. In the distance I hear other noises, those of humans running through woods. Falcon and Brooke are hunting each other. And me. I keep moving, the poison sending shivers through me. My Nephilim blood keeps me alive, but for how much longer? I need the antidote. I need Darkleaf. It's a common plant, but powerful if used correctly. I silently bless Mirrodin for his unorthodox lessons those many years ago as I search for the plant I need. I find it nestled under a great oak tree. The green leaves are dark and smell mildly minty. I stick a handful in my mouth and chew them up, then spit them out into my hand. I need this in my bloodstream. Fortunately, the wolf helpfully ripped open my shoulder and exposed some much-needed blood. I make a paste and plaster my wound with the leaves. It burns and I stifle a scream, but I can feel it working already. I take another handful of leaves, chew and swallow. It can't hurt to take it in a few ways. I look at the tall tree above me and start climbing. I need a safe place to rest while the herbs work, and this will give me a good vantage point of the forest and the others. My stomach swims from the poison and herbs mixing, and I have to stop, breathe, vomit again, and then keep climbing. The smell of my sweat doesn't help with the nausea. I hope Agatha can get this outfit clean. I really like it. It only takes a few minutes before I get most of my strength back. My shoulder feels on fire, but I don't think I'll die anytime soon. I get as high as I can up the tree and scan the forest. Brooke and Falcon aren't far from me. In fact, they are getting closer. Brooke chasing Falcon. I need to take them out and end this. I notch an arrow on my bow. These arrows are designed to stun the target, not kill them. I'm trying to decide which of them to aim for first, when the wolf makes an appearance, looking fiercer than ever, my dagger still stuck in his side. He can't find me, though he can smell me, and instead, he lunges for Falcon. Brooke watches, but doesn't have a clear shot at Falcon any longer. I could take out Brooke right now and win if the wolf ends Falcon. I look to Falcon, who is pinned, scared, in mortal danger. I don't pause. I aim and shoot, and the wolf falls off Falcon, stunned into silence. Brooke looks up, sees me in the tree, and fires. I feel the arrow hit me, feel the electrical currents shoot through me. Then, nothing. Chapter 25. Viper. When I wake, I'm in a chair and my grandfather is by my side. We are back on the roof, and the party is in full swing again. I look up, my head spinning. What happened?
You were knocked out of the tree when Brooke shot you,
he says, kneeling to speak to me eye to eye. Ah, right. That's fun. Everything hurts, but I no longer have gashes across my shoulder and I can tell everything else is healing pretty fast. I was poisoned, I say. Red Fairy. It's deadly. I found the antidote, but... He shakes his head.
I feared something like that would happen. You are my granddaughter. Many think you will be given preferential treatment for a spot as an initiate. They will do what they can to take you out.
Falcon, maybe, but not Brooke.
Not just them. Many great families have stakes in who is chosen.
That's news to me. I push myself off the chair and he helps me stand. I'm okay. My head is clearing.
That is good,
he says, his eyes kind, worried.
Your next trial could begin at any time.
I nod and walk over to Brooke, who is talking with the small group. She smiles when she sees me, holding out a glass of wine, but I decline. "Can I speak with you a moment?" "Of course," she says, excusing herself from the others. "Are you okay?" she asks. "Yes, I'm fine." "Scarlett, I'm sorry. I hope—" "I don't blame you at all," I say, placing a hand on her arm. "I would have made the same choice in your position." She smiles, relief softening her features. "I'm glad you understand." A voice behind us interrupts. It's the pinched woman who insulted me earlier. She's sneering at me now.
"You shouldn't even be in the running, girl. You are weak, shooting the wolf instead of winning. You'll never make a worthy knight."
She's laughing when Brooke walks over to her, smiling. She stops laughing when Brooke grabs the back of her head and bashes her face into a stone wall, shattering her nose. The woman stumbles back, blood running down her face and chest. "How dare you!"
"I am a member of the House of York. I dare do what I please. But if your honor is offended, perhaps you would fancy a duel?"
The woman backs away, hands up in resignation. The crowd around us stands, stunned. I'm still trying to process what just happened as Brooke looks at everyone carefully.
Scarlett made the right choice. The human choice. No one will dare insult her again. Are we clear?
She doesn't wait for an answer, but walks away, winking at me as she does. "Any other secrets I should know about?" I ask Jax as he walks me back to my room. I'm already healed, but he still worries. He glances at me, his face unreadable. He doesn't answer, just says, "I'm sorry, Star." I sigh. There are always secrets. She's changed. We all have. I nod. Life has taken us down very different paths, and yet they all led to Castle V. Except Ella. Her path was destroyed far too early. I will make Apex pay for that, and for all the harm he has done to so many. Jax bows to me, then kisses my cheek, before leaving me in the care of Agatha. She tisks when she sees the state of my outfit. "You smell of vomit and rotten fruit," she says as she helps me undress. I was poisoned, and attacked, and I fell from a tree. She raises an eyebrow but says nothing as I slip into my bathroom to take a quick shower. Once I'm dressed in clean clothes, my own clothes, we begin more training.
"Your trial of wit is next,"
she explains.
"It is my hope and belief you will do better with this one. Strength is perhaps not your strength."
Her lips twitch into an almost smile, and I laugh. "Where do we start?" I ask.
She hands me a book. "Read, and we will talk."
I spend the rest of the day and the next reading and talking with her, my grandfather, even Jax. It's a strange kind of preparation, where my ability to not just understand information, but communicate it in witty and engaging ways is tested. For example, why is it a criminal offense for a man living in York to be buried in Skye? Because he's still living. By their looks, I can tell I'm doing much better at this. There's a feeling of relief amongst my little group of tutors, as if I'm not a complete and utter failure at this. I miss my parents. They should have told me about this part of my life. They should be the ones helping me prepare. It's late when Evie beeps my e-glass at me. "What's up, Evie?" "Scarlett, I have completed accessing the Apex channels of communication. Though most are far too encrypted to hack, I managed to decrypt a few." I sit up, closing the book on my lap. "Did you find something?" "There's a warehouse, and it might be significant." I'm already pulling out my Nightfall backpack and slipping out the third-story window of my bedroom when I give her instructions to relay this information to Trix, TR, and Zoran. "Tell them I'm on my way." The evening is cool and dark, a new moon hiding in the night. It doesn't take long to fly to the cathedral. When I arrive, the little village we're creating is mostly asleep. I fly straight to the cathedral door, let myself in, and find everyone at the war table. Zoran holds up his tablet.
We hacked into the security cameras, he says. This group is keeping Zeniths trapped and drugged, selling them off to clients. Their leader is called Jerry Main, and we believe he might be working with Apex. He may know where we can find him.
TR taps his tablet and projects something into my e-glass.
Jerry Main doesn't leave his warehouse often. When he does, his vehicle is surrounded by security.
Where did we find this information? I sink into a seat at the table and Zoran passes me a life force. Trix answers.
Jerry's wanted by the Inquisition. They have a file on his tactics. A file we hacked.
I scan through the data on my e-glass. The warehouse isn't heavily defended. Jerry must be relying on secrecy for security. This will be easy. Zoran frowns.
I know that look, Nightfall. No.
I grin at him. He won't be expecting an attack. He thinks no one knows about the warehouse.
He's dangerous,
Zoran argues. Not as dangerous as me. Our team prepares for the assault, loading weapons and dressing in black armor. When we enter the city, I will find an Inquisition officer and make them do my bidding. When our mission is over, the Inquisition will arrest Jerry Main and his accomplices. The Dark Templars won't understand how I managed it, but they trust in my plans. Trix walks to my side, arms crossed over her chest. I had a similar plan once. When you attacked the Vatican? I ask, staring out the cathedral balcony. She nods. We surrounded the place, but there was an Inquisitor with andronic mods, maybe also a Zen. He threw a bruiser at me. She kicks a rock, then bends to pick it up, looking at it as she speaks. We fought, and I got a hold of him. Grabbed his head. She squeezes the stone in her hand. And he exploded. She incinerates the rock until it's nothing but dust she flicks off her skin. But we had taken too long, and reinforcements arrived. I was so close to ending all this, but I failed. All those killed by the Order since then. Their blood is on my hands. She looks over at me, her green eyes holding mine. We can't fail, En. I lay a hand on her arm. Without you, the Dark Templars wouldn't exist. You are the heart of us, the reason we have an organized cause at all. Soon, we will grind the Apex into dust. I sit on a lighthouse made of shining metal, and I survey the surroundings as my cloak flaps around me. The warehouse is by the docks. It is a large, simple building, next to roaring waves and giant ships. My ears are filled with the groaning of machinery and the yelling of people as they move cargo from ships to trucks. They work hard, and we will avoid them in our assault. The air smells of salt and fish. The wind is furious. The sky is dark, but the port and warehouse are lit with lamps. Places like these do not sleep. They work through the day and night, producing goods for those who can afford them. The ships provide food and technology. The warehouse provides zeniths. They are used as tools for sick pleasures and cheap labor. My stomach twists at the thought. I need to focus. I tap my e-glass. Begin. A dozen Dark Templars led by Trix emerge from a building below me. They reach the side of the warehouse, avoiding the lights as best they can. The front entrance is guarded, but this path will not be. Trix touches the wall, and around her palm, a circle of steel, larger than a person, turns red. Then it turns to gray ash and falls at her feet. Her pyromatics are stronger than I thought, and now they have an opening. Trix sneaks through the new hole in the warehouse, and the Dark Templars follow. TR is positioned on a storage building next to the lighthouse, ready to use his sniper rifle for support. Zoran emerges from the dark sky and lands on the warehouse silently. He enters through a window near the ceiling. My e-glass is synced with all of my generals and my troops, and I watch the mission unfold. Before our enemy can react, we are upon them. Like a fog of sleep, we drift through the warehouse, knocking out sentries and doctors with chloroform. From Trix's point of view, I see her grab an armed man from behind. He collapses back against her, and she lays him down gently. Next, she grabs a doctor, who sleeps in his chair, still wearing a white coat. Through Zorin's feed, I see him choke another doctor until the woman passes out. Their medicines are used to keep the Zeniths docile and weak, and I feel no pity for them. The area is almost secured. Next, I must find Jerry Mayne and interrogate him with my talent. I jump down from the lighthouse, using my wings to drift slowly to the hole Trix burned. A light rain begins to fall. I enter the warehouse, staying hidden behind a stack of crates as I work my way to a steel staircase. When I turn past the crates, I see a nurse studying his clipboard, unaware his comrades have fallen. I do not hesitate when I grab him by the neck. I scan his mind for Jerry Mayne's location, and when I have it, I tell him to rest. He crumples at my feet, a peaceful smile on his lips. He should enjoy his dreams, for he will wake to a nightmare. As an experiment, I touch him again and ask him to stand. He does not stir. Zorin must be right. I can only use my talent on someone once. My Dark Templars continue moving through the warehouse, around stacks of crates and below old yellow lamps. We pass empty beds and cages on the first floor. The sheets are still messy, and the smell of sedatives and smoke is thick in the air. The Zeniths were sold recently. Apex must have them now. He will not have them for long. I reach the steel staircase and walk to the top of the warehouse. There is a private room built from dark wood with windows to overlook the workers below. The room Jerry Mayne uses. Zorin and Trix stand at my side, and I tell them to wait. I am the only one needed now. I open the door and find a slim man leaning over a mahogany table, a bottle in his hand, dark shadows under his eyes.
"I knew you would come," he says. "Someone always comes, eventually."
He gulps down his drink and turns to face me. There is little light in the room, only a small gray lamp on his messy desk. The air is heavy with smoke.
"So what can I do for you, Nightfall?"
"Tell me where Apex is." I take a step forward, my footsteps loud against the wood, and reach for him. Jerry raises his hand.
"No need for violence, Nightfall." His voice is rough and weary.
He is a man consumed by his own troubles.
"You will find Apex on his ship. The coordinates are—"
Something swooshes by me, and an arrow hits Jerry in the neck. His head crumples, his throat gurgling. I turn and see a shadow at a window above me. The figure wears a black cloak torn into ribbons. They sway and hiss in the wind like vipers. She, I think it is a she because of her body shape, turns away toward the night. I unleash my wings and dash upward as the figure jumps outside. I land on the window ledge, scanning the city. I see a shadow fleeing down an alley. I follow, my wings a spiral of silver in the darkness. I land in a puddle, searching for the figure. The rain is strong now, beating against my skin. Whoever this person, this viper, is, they knew about my plan, and they had cause to stop it. Images flash through my mind. A black hood, snakes hissing on a coat, a ring with a blade. Apex. Was that him? One of his agents? My head spins as I fall to my knees and scream into the night. Once again, I have failed to find my enemy. I have failed to avenge Brooke and Ella. The rage within me is a living thing, and it eats away at my insides. Tears flow from my eyes, and I punch the concrete below me. It cracks like thunder in a storm.
"Nightfall?"
asks Zorin softly. He is behind me, but I do not move to face him. Wet footsteps. He is closer. His hand is on my shoulder.
Nightfall.
His voice pulls me from my memories. I'm fine, I say sharply. We need to regroup. I stand, dusting off my cloak, and walk past him, back toward the light. We regroup back within the warehouse. I meet my generals in the wooden room above the stairs. It is a messy place, full of papers and clothes. We lost our lead, I explain, attempting to stay composed. Our team had high hopes for this mission, and despite our failure, I cannot allow our hope to fade. Someone was there, a viper in the night. They killed our target before I could question him. They must have known we needed the information in his mind, so they eliminated him. Trix bows her head, and TR groans and paces. Zoran leans against the door, tapping his fingers on the wall, his rage the calmest of all. We need to find another lead, I continue, and if we can find this person, this viper, that would help. For now, search the warehouse. See if you can find any clues to Apex's whereabouts. You have 1 hour. Then the Inquisition will arrive and arrest all those within. TR raises a questioning eyebrow at my last comment, but says nothing. My generals leave the room, and I collapse in the wooden chair, finally letting my composure break. Every bone and muscle in my body throbs with stress, and I take deep breaths, willing myself to relax. I need to rest, to sleep, too. My e-glass beeps, and Evie's voice speaks softly into my ear. Scarlet, I have received a message from the Chancellor. You have to get back to the castle. Your next trial is about to begin. Chapter 26. Trial of Wit. My hair is back to pale blonde, and I am dressed for my life at Castle V, but my mind cannot shake the memories of tonight. Thoughts of Apex consume me. I'm running through the castle courtyard, barely paying attention to where I'm going, when I hear Ragathon and my grandfather arguing under the shade of a fairy tree.
We cannot allow this,
Ragathon says through clenched teeth.
We know Nightfall was part of the attack on the warehouse. She's working with the shadows. They're calling themselves the Dark Templars now. They make a mockery of the Four Orders, of our way of life. They are a problem we must end.
I clench my fist, resisting the urge to shout at him. The Dark Templars are the problem? Not Apex and his corrupt organization? Not the group that is kidnapping and using Zeniths? Not the group that killed Ella? My grandfather says something I can't hear. Whatever his words, they do not make Ragathon happy, which makes me smile. Evie beeps in my ear, reminding me to hurry, and I pick up the pace, bumping shoulders with the Seeker, who is walking towards Ragathon. The scowl is still on my face from her mentor's words, and she frowns at me. We're not your enemy, Scarlet. Oh, if only she knew what I truly am. As the Seeker leaves, Evie says prospects are to meet at the third door on the left in the second-level hall of the Northwest Tower. I sigh and ask her to map the way. This place is deceptively hard to navigate, and I have no energy left in me. Whatever this trial is, I hope it is easier than the first. When I arrive in the correct hall, Falcon joins me.
Hello, Scarlet. Are you well?
I wonder if he sees the anger and sorrow within me. I tell him I am fine, because I cannot discuss the truth. You? He smiles, pulling out a golden necklace from behind his shirt. It is a symbol of some sort. He grips it hard.
I am well, because of you, Scarlet. You saved my life.
I shrug. Anyone would have done the same.
Not likely,
he says. What's that symbol? I ask, pointing at his necklace. He opens his palm, showing me the amulet.
It is an ankh. It means a breath of life.
The symbol is a cross, with an oval shape at the top. Vague memories of reading about symbols, about the Leviathan cross and the Ankh, surface in my mind. The old religions are outlawed. His eyes move swiftly from side to side, nervously, but only for a moment. If I were not Nephilim, I may have missed it. He laughs.
It is not religious. I wear it to remind me of the value of life, and the beauty of it.
I nod. The Ankh may mean more to him than he admits, but his secret will be safe with me. We all have sides hidden from the world. He still looks on edge, so I touch his shoulder. Don't worry, I won't discuss your amulet with anyone. Thank you for sharing it with me. He smiles, his dark face relaxed, and I glance at his Ankh, reminding myself that there is beauty in my life. I must not dwell on the deaths of the past. After a moment, we reach the correct door. A Teutonic stands guard, and he asks us to hand him our e-glasses and anything in our pockets or on our persons. No weapons, not even so much as a pen and paper, is allowed into the room. Brooke is the last to arrive. As she walks up, I turn the handle on the door, and the three of us walk into a simple room devoid of all furniture or ornaments. Once we enter, the door behind us slams shut. Brooke tries the door. It's locked. The stone floors have been stripped of carpets, and there are no windows or dressings on the wall. In the center of the room sits an ornate box the size of a book. The three of us sit in a small circle around it. "What are we meant to do?" Brooke asks. I am too tired for puzzles, but this is one I must solve, so I pick up the box and examine it. It's made of a dark wood and polished to a high sheen. It's carved with asymmetrical patterns and appears to be all one piece. It's one of those puzzle boxes. I run my fingers over the smooth wood, feeling for the hidden mechanisms to open it. It takes only a few minutes for me to unlock its secrets. A hidden panel slips out, revealing a single sheet of thick cream paper. I read the words out loud. "Greetings, initiate prospects. Here you will find a riddle to challenge the greatest minds in the history of our world. This riddle predates the Cataclysm, and is credited to an ancient thinker whose work has mostly been lost to our time. His name was Einstein, and he believed only 2% of the population could puzzle out the answer to this question without the use of writing implements. You will remain locked in this room until one of you speaks the correct answer into the box. You only have one chance to answer. If you answer incorrectly, the box locks you out permanently. Once you answer correctly, the door will unlock and you will be released." Brooke takes the paper from me, scanning down to the riddle. She reads the rest out loud. The riddle is as follows. There are 5 houses, with 5 occupants, each with a different color house, different beverage of choice, different favorite brand of cigarette, and a unique pet. With only the following information as aid, you must reason out who owns the fish. She passes the paper back to me and I read through the clues. 1. The Englishman lives in the red house. 2. The Swede keeps dogs. 3. The Dane drinks tea. There are 12 more clues, all similar to the first 3. We can only answer once, and only one person can answer, Brooke says. The implications are weighty. We must all agree on who answers, and trust that they have it correct. What happens if we fail? I ask. Neither of them has an answer. We take turns reading through the riddle. We can't take notes, so we must hold it all in our minds. Falcon and Brooke talk through the options of the riddle, but I move away, closing my eyes as I sink into my mind. Mirrodin once taught me a valuable tool in memory and deductive, inductive, and adductive reasoning called the method of loci, a mnemonic adopted in ancient Greece and Roman rhetorical treatises. I place each piece of information the riddle gave us into its own room in my mind, adding the details visually. I do not know how long I sit there, alone in my thoughts, but I am sore, tired, and hungry when I open my eyes. Falcon is pacing the empty room, and Brooke is staring at the paper with a scowl. She sighs when she sees I'm back. Any luck? I shake my head, still trying to figure it out. You? No. This is impossible. I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't even have an answer.
How can they expect us to dwell here without food or drink? We don't even have pillows,
Falcon says. They wouldn't let us starve to death here, would they? Brooke sounds worried. We wouldn't starve, I say. We would dehydrate first. Humans can't go more than a few days without water, but can go much longer without food. Thanks for that, Brooke says with sarcasm. If it's any consolation, we're all likely well hydrated and these aren't harsh conditions, I say, trying to sound more energized than I am. We could possibly survive up to 3 days without water. Falcon looks at me with an odd expression on his face.
A bit of a survivalist, are you?
My parents had a thing about it, I say by way of explanation. I picked up a few things. Too bad you didn't pick up anything about Einstein, Brooke says, slamming the paper to the floor. Yeah. I get up to stretch, examining the room for clues, but there is nothing in here but us. We are trapped for 2 days without food and water. I watch as Falcon and Brooke devolve, as their personalities fray from tedium, hunger, and thirst. One night, Falcon murmurs in his sleep,
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be a knight. I don't want to be. Please, Mother, don't make me go.
When he wakes, none of us ask about his past. That day, Brooke weeps in a corner. She whispers for Ella. She whispers for forgiveness. They don't do well under stress. I do far better. Likely it is because I am Nephilim. I don't need water like them, and it seems I can last longer without blood than humans can without water. But on the 3rd day, I begin to hunger. I can smell their blood pulsing under their skin, and I know I must answer the question soon, before my own willpower shatters and I become the monster the world fears my kind to be. I reach for the paper and read it through again, and then I smile. I know the answer. Brooke and Falcon stop bickering with each other and both turn to me. Really? Brooke asks, crawling over to me. We stopped walking a day ago. I thought Brooke and Falcon would begin hallucinating, but they didn't. I suspect because of the Andronics gen mod. Really, I say. I know the answer. Falcon looks at me.
Are you sure? One wrong answer, pure man, and we are doomed.
I nod. You need to trust me. I'm sure. Brooke and Falcon look to each other, and then nod as one. We will die soon anyways. Why not? Brooke hands me the box. I open it and speak clearly into it. The German. We all turn when the door behind us clicks and swings open.
I'm surprised it took you so long to figure out, says my grandfather as he hands me a life force and fresh bread. We sit in the courtyard minutes after the trial, under a sun I have not seen for 3 days, and I drink quickly to regain energy. I take a bite of the bread to keep up appearances. I solved the riddle on the first day. He raises a bushy eyebrow. And you waited 3 days to answer it?
I nod, opening a 3rd pack of life force. I wanted to see how my competition handles pressure. The Chancellor nods, running his fingers through his gray beard.
Clever. And how did they fare?
Not well. Falcon doesn't want to be a knight. He's only here because of expectations. In the end, his lack of commitment will show. He won't win.
And the Princess of York?
She is still haunted by the past. But so am I. A warm breeze flutters past us, and my lungs fill with fresh air of the courtyard, So different from that stifling room. I remember my friend's soft cries. I'm sorry I put her through that. I could have saved her pain. My grandfather taps his cane against the stone floor.
The information you gleaned on Falcon is valuable, but
it won't help. I still need to beat Brooke. Only one can win. I consider ways of using Brooke's past trauma against her, and I almost vomit from disgust. I will not use Ella's memory for my own means. When I win, it will be honorably. Brooke walks over to us, looking rejuvenated. We're tied now, you and I. May the best Pat win. Are you ready for the trial of grace? I hear it's full of high society types who love to judge.
She'll do great at the ball,
the Chancellor says with a confidence I don't feel. I'm sure she will, Brooke says, leaving us and disappearing within the castle. Falcon walks over next, his eyes still red and weary.
May I have a moment? He asks.
I nod, standing up from the bench. I say goodbye to the Chancellor and follow Falcon inside the castle.
It seems I must thank you again, he says. One more day, and I'm sure I would have died.
They wouldn't have actually let us die, would they? He shrugs.
It is the nature of this game. They need the strongest, the best, the bravest. There can be no real trial without risk.
Well, it's almost over, I say, walking with him down the stone halls towards my room. Only one more trial.
About that.
He pauses, glancing at me.
I propose we team up against Brooke.
I stop, turning to him. Why? He twists the silver ring on his finger, engraved with a cloud, the sigil of his house.
These games, they are not fair. I am from a small house. You were not even supposed to be in this race at all. You replaced a nobody. The cards were always stacked in favor of Brooke, a princess of York. There are powerful people who want her to win.
You weren't the one who poisoned me, were you? He smiles sadly.
No, I was not.
But Brooke would never do that to me. We've known each other since childhood. He steps closer, his voice lowering.
She may not have poisoned you, but her supporters would have. Since you and she are friends, she trusts you most. You could use that to your advantage.
He holds out a dagger to me, hilt first.
The trial of grace does not allow weapons. It is an immediate fail to be caught with one. If you slipped this onto her person, and if she were caught with it,
she would lose, and I would win the initiate trials. I finish, my stomach clenching at the thought of betraying my old friend. But I have to weigh that against the greater good of infiltrating the orders so I can take them down. This isn't just my fight. This is the fight of the Dark Templars, of all the oppressed in this unjust world. Their hopes and dreams rest on my ability to gain a foothold into this elite society.
This would give us an even playing field for once, he says, clutching his ankh again. You and I, we would make honorable knights. We are not bought and paid for by a powerful family. Either of us would be a better knight than someone beholden to the corruption of the House of York.
And if I don't do this? If I try to win on my own merits? He shakes his head sadly.
That will never be possible in this world, Scarlet. You will lose.
Students of the orders mill about the training yard. They wear robes, displaying their chosen orders on their chest, as they train with weapons or in hand-to-hand combat. I'm practicing forms with my sword. Not the forms Zoran teaches me, of course, but the ones I'm expected to know as part of my initiate prospect training. Not for the first time I wish my parents had prepared me better for this life, though I know why they didn't. They hoped I'd never have this life. I'm again grateful for Mirden's early training of me. Without him, I'd be more lost than I already am. At least he gave me some foundation before he left. My sword gleams in the morning sun, casting shards of light against the stone walls of the training yard. I lunge, impaling an imaginary opponent, when my grandfather arrives and smiles at me.
"Shouldn't you be preparing for your final trial?"
he asks. I let my sword drop, my arm aching. How do you prepare for a party? My gown is ready, my makeup has been chosen, my stylist is ready. Even saying all of this makes me feel ridiculous.
"Yes, but have you mastered the social graces?"
he asks.
"Dancing, small talk, the proper degree of obsequiousness depending on the rank of the person to whom you are being presented?"
I groan and look longingly at my sword. Combat training seems easy compared to the trial of grace. What happens if I fail at this? I already know the answer, but I ask anyways. He frowns.
"Even your relation to me cannot guarantee you a spot in this program if you do not pass the trials."
Maybe that's for the best. I stab at the ground with my sword. Maybe this isn't the world for me. I know, of course, that I cannot give up that easily. If it were just me, I'd gladly live out my life somewhere away from this society, where I can tinker with my computers and enjoy the simple life my father had hoped for me. All those bold dreams I had as a child feel painfully naive now that I'm here living them. But this isn't about my own small life. Not anymore. Jax walks up to us, a grin on his face.
"Is the lady giving up so easily?"
I glare at him, but he just smiles back.
"I've come to rescue you, fair maiden,"
he says, holding out a hand. I look at it, confused. My grandfather steps back and clicks on his e-glass. Music streams out. Some kind of ballad. Oh no. I step away from Jax. I am not dancing here, in front of all these people.
"You have to practice,"
Jax says. "In private, maybe." I cross my arms over my chest.
"You've had enough private lessons. You won't be in private come the ball."
He steps forward and pulls me into his arms. His mouth is near my ear as he speaks softly.
"You can do this, Star. I know you can."
We begin to step to the music, measured, slow movements that take us in a loop. I follow his lead, matching my feet to his, holding my arms the way he instructs. My face turns red as other students stop to watch us. I see Brooke smile and clap to the music out of the corner of my eye. I'm sure she's been well trained in the social graces. And she and I are tied. I have no idea how I'm going to win this. Lost in thought, I lose track of my footing and trip on Jax, smashing his toes under mine. He catches me, and I try not to make eye contact with anyone around me as we start the dance again.
"Your mother also struggled with this,"
my grandfather says, surprising me. I look to him as I move with Jax. Really? It's hard to imagine her bad at anything. He chuckles.
"Oh, she had her moments, believe me. You two are more alike than you think."
He holds up his arms and sways his hips.
"I, on the other hand, am as graceful as a swan."
I laugh as he mock dances near us. I can tell from the shocked look on the faces of the other students that they have never seen their chancellor behave this way in public. His silliness eases a bit of my worry and embarrassment, and I'm grateful to him. If I had to bet, I'd say he did this for exactly that reason, and it's one of the nicest things anyone has done for me since I arrived here. Other students join in the dancing as weapons are forgotten and music fills the training yard. There is laughter and friendly banter until it is interrupted by an unwelcome voice.
Is this an area for combat training, or have I been misinformed all these years?
Everyone stops dancing, and students pick up their weapons to resume their training. Jax stands by my side as Ragathon strides over, a scowl on his perpetually miserable face. The small joy I experienced is sucked dry in his presence. He holds up a piece of paper very officially.
I have received special permission to open an investigation into the trial of wit. There is evidence that Scarlet Knight cheated.
His accusation is loud and spreads through the training ground amongst whispers. My cheeks turn red again, this time not in embarrassment, but anger. I am furious. Jax puts a tempering hand on my sword arm, as if he knows what I'm thinking. Truth be told, he probably does.
What grounds do you have of accusing Scarlet of this nonsense?
My grandfather asks.
There is evidence she had the answer to the riddle, that someone on the outside gave her the answer during the trial. She is to be taken in for questioning.
Ragathon puffs out his chest as if that will impress anyone here. Brooke steps forward, surprising me. That is not accurate. I was there. No such thing occurred. We never left each other's side. There is no way anyone in that room could have cheated.